What's the big idea?
Alrighty. Boom. Boom. This is 45, right?
I was trying to think. I don't know.
I think it is. It's episode 45. And to mark the occasion, we have, I don't know if anybody notices anything different, but we're a little reclined here today.
Yeah.
We got some new chairs
Some
that are
upgrades.
like very comfortable.
Long time waiting.
We got some Olympians coming on the show soon, so we better get some comfortable seats because we don't value our own bodies, but we do value the bodies of Olympians. So watch for those, and they'll be in studio too. So we had to.
Those are for the makeup room now, right?
Yes.
Or when
or the green room where we do the makeup, we prep everybody, talcum everybody.
No, we just prep ourselves.
We prep ourselves. That's why we look so good. We should tell
Yeah.
people that. That's why we look so good. It's because we wear copious amounts of makeup and cover up.
Hair gel.
Yeah, I'm actually a white man. This is just one of those new tones.
Bronzer.
Yeah, bronzer. Bronzer. I hardly even. Anyway, so the topic today is playing loud better, because in volleyball, I think parents and players and coaches can understand and relate to this, that there are teams that are loud. There are players that are loud. There are coaches that encourage teams to be loud. There are parents who wish their kids would be louder.
Yeah.
But is it better to be loud? Is it that simple to just be loud? Or is there something else at work? Could it be damaging to ask a player to be louder? Is it ever bad? Is it ever good?
Where does it come from? Like, where does this, I mean, right off the bat, like this, another thing, just coming back to, in our previous talks about comparing to these national teams or pro teams and stuff, I think this comes from emulating the environment of a professional stadium and stuff, where the home crowd has the advantage of just being so I guess it's not obnoxious, but like overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right. And that will then give the whoever team's associated with that loudness the strength, which is that already means you're looking for like an external support to give you an edge in the game, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, like where else would this come from? Hey, let's be loud. Like,
I mean, it's probably Viking tribal stuff, like intimidating, right? Like loud noises scare people. So if you're loud, then you could throw the other team off.
And what form of loud is good? Like you do, like obviously your energy needs to be present on the court, and so you're not going to be silent. Volleyball is, as we know it, a very energetic sport, where there's a lot of, you are close to the other team, and like you can definitely feel the energy.
Are you a loud player?
No. Well, it just kind of depends. Not really.
Me neither.
Yeah. Certain points I'll get like pretty like, let's go or something like that. But
sorry, what was that? How do you say it?
Let's go. It's so weird to say it like when I'm not like
I know, I'm
actually feeling it. You're not a loud player at all.
No, I'm not. I
You're
get
just
quiet.
like,
I'll get occasionally upset at myself, but
yeah, right. If you're only
but not. I don't get down. I get like excited about the next play. That's the good thing. Like some people get angry and they get down, but I don't get. I get excited. To mess up again.
Just back. Just focus.
Yeah.
Back.
But no, I'm not loud. Yeah, I don't resent loud. Like I do. It's funny though, because there's a part of me that when the other team is loud, it fires me up. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of get excited about that because I can't wait to shut them up.
Yeah.
That's it. That's where it could backfire too. But here's the thing. I think that the answer really is like maybe this is a short episode. No, I'm just kidding. So let's get into that. I like how you said like where does it come from? I think it comes from intimidation. It could also come from a place of nervousness. Like there are some coaches that like tell players to be loud, and it's against the player's nature. That's what bugs me. Yeah. When you're loud, like you said too, like you said like you couldn't. It's hard to be like let's go when you're not really feeling it.
You're right.
And when a coach is like telling you to, that sort of it could lower your self-esteem as a player, because now you're like, okay, my real self isn't good enough. I must play this role. You know what I mean? Yep.
So my loudness, I think, is something I developed when I was playing like college ball, because it was our team was doing it, like the team, you know, like even though I was an older guy, I was a rookie going on in this team. They had like the pregame kind of chant thing, and like in the team room, you know, and it's always weird because you do that, you get all fired up and stuff, and then all of a sudden it's quiet, and then you have to walk from there to the gym, and then it's like, where's that energy now? It's like, yes, you know what I mean? So it feels weird. And then in that moment when you are walking to the gym, it's just back to all you've got, which is just you and your own control over your own mental state, right? And then, but then the other way that I think it was also, if that's the internal factor that made me or exposed me to it, and then the external one was being in really loud gyms or whatever. You go to other schools and like they're really loud. But also I would do a lot of the same. It's just kind of, there's nothing better than like getting a huge block on another team and then just like making it look like it's not even a big deal, right?
Yeah, there is something about that. Yeah,
that's my favorite way to celebrate.
And a lot of coaches say that line: "Act like you've been here before." Yeah, like, act like you've done this before, which is more intimidating anyway. Right? Yeah, if someone cranks a ball line, like, you know, and just walks away like it's nothing. That's pretty intimidating. Yeah, stuff blocks, not too celebratory, right? I think that I really think that people just need to be themselves. I think coaches need to understand that the minute you start telling someone that their natural tendency isn't good, then that makes the player maybe more self-conscious, right? It makes them feel worse about who they are, and then they're out there. I've seen young teams where, like beach teams especially, were like, come on, let's go, yeah. And the problem with that too is when things get bad and they start losing, it's very difficult to keep that voice up, and then you get a double whammy, because not only now are you starting to lose points, but now you're quiet, and then it like magnifies what's happening, because you said like the extra layer of stuff.
That's the one good thing about always playing against a loud team that I realize now, is you have that advantage over them. Once you start to like get those points on them, and like win those little battles, they get quiet, and then
I had so in this case it was the parents. Like my daughter was playing club, and they were down. Remember I told you that story where she was down like 14-9 in the third. And the parents were uber loud, like screaming. And the problem with it was that the kids were associating the parents' volume level with their success, right? So my daughter goes back and spin serves 2 or 3 in a row.
And this is a 2 out of 3?
And this is the third set. 2 out of 3 match club. And she gets it up to like, so it's like 12 or like 11, right? They take a timeout. Parents get quiet, because she had done a little run earlier too. So they knew that in the match, right? So they knew that she's a spin server. And then the parents are dead quiet. And the players now, because they're dependent on the noise of themselves and their coaches and especially the parents. And then they lost. She served it out 16-14, and it was dead silent on that side. So the kids were like, this must be really bad, because they're not making any more noise.
Exactly.
And the same with a noisy team. Like panic sets in because nobody's cheering anymore. So it's like an extra thing that can make things seem worse than they are.
Right. Well, if you're teaching the kids that this is a normal part of the environment, or they're starting to think it is, and all of a sudden it's gone, like you said.
It's like you're taking away the ball or something vital to the game in their mind, and they can't perform. But I think that, like we talked about this too, like it's sort of rooted in like, can you fake confidence, right? Like I think that's what I mean when I see coaches like forcing their teams to be like, there are some players who don't get playing time, like in club ball, because they're not loud enough. The coach wants them to be louder. And I think people mistake loud with aggressive, right? People like, because of the Viking or the, warrior mentality, there's something about, maybe pro wrestling's to blame, or Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, I mean, a battlefield is a different thing, right? Like,
but that's sort of probably where it comes from, right?
Right.
For England.
The thing is, when you're on a battlefield and you're I don't know, I can't relate, but like, obviously, if you're truly invested in whatever you're fighting for, like, and you don't care if you go down going for it, you're gonna do whatever it takes, right? So, that's a weird. But I had guys like that I would play with where I noticed that they would get louder as a compensation for like when the team was doing poorly or something, or they just made a few mistakes. They try to like, hey guys, we gotta bring up the energy, and like, right. And again, it's a weird thing. It's like the coach saying, all right, pass up. You know what I mean? I I hear it, but I don't know what it means. It doesn't have any like meaning to me, right? And like, so in some ways I would end up trying to, I would notice these certain players, and I noticed that like they, as much as of a quieter player I am, I think that some guys actually benefit from some energy or whatever. So like
that's
giving it when I felt it was appropriate.
Interesting. Yeah. To help them.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Cause I think like certain, loudness on the court is a good thing if it's contained and not too crazy, like not like you can notice the difference, especially when you're on the court and like you hear some people cheer and the direction they're cheering in and the type of things that they're saying. Like if you just get a bounce and then you just turn to your team and say like, let's go. And then like high fives, like that's to me, that's a internal genuine, consolidation of energy and
genuine energy
and genuine. Yeah. And it's like, and it feels like an actual celebration of the hard work you've been doing in practice that led up to that pass, that set, that bounce, right? Especially if you're just running something you're working on, or it was a super tough serve, or you just broke them on a 2-point run, which is super important. So then that's key
point.
Yeah. Things like that. Cause that's like, and again, contained within your own team, not through the net. Because mind you, we lost this team recently, but it was at the recent beach tournament. And we were playing against a guy that was very much the opposite. He's saying things through the net and saying the types of things he was saying. Right. And I knew this before the game, and I'm like, I used to not like playing against these players, but now I understand that there's an advantage to it.
Yep.
Anyways, we ended up losing to them, but which sucks even more. But so that there's a different type of cheering where it's like all of a sudden they were quiet all game, and then they get whatever, we make a mistake, basically give them a free ball, and then they get a good attack at it, and then he's a huge celebration out of it. And I'm like, man, like I don't say this, I'm just thinking it, but again, the fact I'm thinking this shows that he's in my head. I'm like, we gave you a free ball, like why are you celebrating?
The fact you're
so
still
hard
thinking
for
about it right now and talking about
it. Yeah, exactly. It means I'm so bothered.
No, but it's interesting because there's a difference between like chirping and taunting versus just loud. I mean, like, I think the idea is to like blow the other team off the court, overwhelm them with noise. And we've all played against those teams where you're like are getting blown off the court by the noise, and you're like, they're super loud. But I think people mistake that it's not the loud. Like the loudness can add to it for sure. Like if if a team gets up 5-6 points, you're like, oh, and then you're like taking that timeout, and they're like, oh, and then you're walking back to your huddle, and you're like, all right, guys, let's go. But there's certain players that will just. And there's certain players that will take that team's noise and like, let's just effing destroy these. I can't wait to shut them up. And I've had some players on teams like that. I've been that player. Like I just get fired up by their noise and more determined. And then there's other players that will get down. And I think that like those teams, it's sort of a genuine, it feels like, there's a momentum building, and then there's a versus like, let's start at 0-0 with this loudness. There's a big difference. Like you were talking about the big point, the key point. There's times where we're all like really loud, and it's because we're feeling good. And then there's other points where like some coaches are like, "Come on, guys, make some noise," and nobody's feeling it.
Yes, and it's
right. Like I remember, I have a specific like funny story. Like we were playing. This is high school. This is back when the days when high school volleyball was like it in our area. It was like super high level. And actually, my old beach partner was on the other team. I think I told you this with Sean.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if I've heard of this.
Oh, we had a super rivalry with his school in high school, and it was like crazy. And we hosted the high school end of season tournament at our thing called Lawson, and we played them in the round robin. And
so you and Sean were good buddies at this point?
No, we didn't know. We hated him. He was like showboaty headband guy. And,
was he a headband guy?
Yeah. Everybody used to call him, like, his last name was Walker back then. And so everybody used to call him Air Walker because he jumped really high.
Yeah.
And he was like this little, he was like a pretty boy with a bandana.
Was he?
Yeah. And then
he's going to listen to this.
Yeah, he probably won't. But so we hated each other, right? Because he was a great hitter, and we had a bunch of, and then actually, Chaput was their setter.
Oh,
so, yeah. So we knew, like, we didn't know them, but we were just rivals with that school. and it was like I don't know if there was a third set or not, but it was like maybe it was just 2 sets we played, but our whole school was watching, and like we had this like he was cranking it, we were cranking it, and then that guy, remember on our team that came back as the best player, he was like our worst player bench. Then he went to camp and he came back, and he was a lefty, and he cranked when it hit Sean, and Sean turtled, and it went off his shoulder and hit the roof, and everybody in our gym was going crazy, and we destroyed them in that second set. And then we met them again in the finals, but we had a tricky we had a third setter that we shouldn't have been a 3-setter in the semis against a team that we should have walked over. And everybody was gone from the school, so there's no loud crowd. It's after school, people just caught their buses. Yeah. So it was dead quiet in the gym, and we just knew we were going to lose because we were quiet. Yeah. And we peaked too soon. The crowd is gone now. Yeah. And our coach was like, it was Prada, and he's like, our coach is like, guys, like this is like, you guys have no energy. I can feel it. Like, I could be at home with my wife right now, but you guys are like dead quiet. And we're just looking around the huddle, and we're just like, yeah, let's go, guys. But we didn't believe it. Right. We lost the final to them after like that round robin thing.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah, we peaked too soon, right? Yeah. And the noise was gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the day was home games, and there was crowds all day. Yeah. And we just couldn't get loud. You ever have that? Where you just can't get up? Like, your team is just like, it's kind of crazy.
Well, and so that's the now I want to ask you about that. Like, the energy of your team own loudness, or the crowd's energy and loudness, right? Yeah. So the more you're in an environment like that, you learn to, like, it's amazing to have that crowd energy.
It is.
Well, it is, but it's also, you learn that it becomes irrelevant.
Exactly.
Right.
You know we learned coming out of that? Like, our team, we said that we play better when we're having fun. Like, when we start taking things seriously, because then the loudness sort of is natural, right? Like, there's cheering and laughing and smiling, because every time you grip the wheel too tight. Yeah. And that's where, like, the reps come in, I think, because that, like, more reps you have, the less meaningful each rep. So you're playing loose. Yeah. Right? That's where I think people forget how important it is to just, like, get out there, do it as often as possible, as much as possible. So next time it becomes flow. It's I'm just going to wail on this, or I'm just going to roll this, or I'm going to... comes automatic, and we figured out that we have to be loose to play, and we have to joke around on the court with each other, like, like a little laugh here or there, smile. Like, you ever have matches like that where, like, your team's really loose and you're having fun, and you just play better, versus the uptight player who's, like, sometimes way too intense. And then I mean, it depends on demeanor, because I'm not a joke around guy on the court much. But when you're looser, like, you shake things off faster, right? Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean loud. Yeah. We played a beach tournament yesterday, like a 4s beach tournament, and we had someone on our team where we were laughing because, like, you got a monster stuff block, and the girl on our team was, like, defending. She's a libero, and she was like, "Ooh!" Like, it was over the top. And I was trying to, like, we were around. You and I both made it sound like, "Ooh." Yeah, it was funny though. Because it can fire up the other team, right? That's what we were thinking. It's like, don't taunt.
Yeah, that's funny. You think that too. Yeah.
Yeah, we both. I heard you laugh about it, and I laughed about it at the same time. So, like, that's not our style of play, but it is funny. Yeah. So I think that coaches that do it, I think there's something really interesting about it.
It's a bit of like what you're saying, like, maybe in that first match when the crowd was there, maybe it's just like you get lucky every once in a while with that crowd energy, and it does work in your favor, but the objective is that you're unaffected by it. And I can definitely see, because it was the same day and you had the next match and everyone's gone, right? Mm-hmm. So, and especially as high
or like school, a couple matches, later in the same day. Yeah.
Later, but still in the same day, right? And so, especially as young athletes in the sport, you're not used to this. Yeah, that was the experience for you, right? Yes. And then it's not surprising at all that you couldn't find the energy, right? But obviously you remembered that, and now the next time you're in a big crowd,
we were the better team. In case Sean is listening, we were the better team,
right? Oh, okay,
yeah. We literally lost, like, to a team that we should have beat. I think. I mean, it was a good rivalry, but. I'm not bitter. I'm over it, though.
Not like me and my
30 years ago. It's like literally. It was 31 years ago. I can't believe that.
Oh, that's
Holy
crazy.
Smokes. It's weird because I'm only 28.
Yeah,
that's the weird. I don't even know how that.
That's how time machines work.
That's
the skipping back and forth.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
My other question was this isn't chirping. So chirping is something else. Like this is something we'll see.
It can cross over into chirping though, I guess. Like
right.
What,
like you don't see it often, but every once in a while, like you see it on the AVP, or you'll see it in World League and stuff. Yeah. But you have to be
Casey Patterson.
Yeah. The cameras really have to be paying attention. The commentators really need to know the player's history and like of certain people who will kind of do that. But those are those individuals' play style, or they have something or
fires themselves up.
Yeah.
Casey Patterson was never, I don't think, mean.
No,
he's always just said funny stuff in the middle of rallies.
He's just like mixing like tunes after he gets like a bounce or a dig,
or does a little wave, like a breakdance wave, like in the Olympics. That was famous. And that's genuine passion and fun, and that's his personality. It's not fake.
It looks like fun.
Yes,
that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, he's genuinely having fun, and I think opposing teams love it. Like they like hearing his little words, like. You're like, oh my God! Like, did you see that? He's about his own play.
Does he say stuff like that?
Sometimes he'll say something like, wow, or something like after he does something.
Yeah. I mean, that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
he's never. I don't think anybody's hated Casey Patterson that way. I mean, I guess if you're losing, you might not like it.
Maybe, but like, I don't know that
it's pretty genuine.
It'd be fun to play against someone like that.
Yeah, because he's not being a jerk to you.
Yeah.
He's just being fun. He's having fun. Yeah. Yeah, I think that like I see a lot of parents too, like they do want their kids to be louder on the court. Like a lot of parents will post about this stuff online, and it's like I think they're mistaking confidence for loudness, and I think they're mistaking aggressiveness for loudness, right? Because loud doesn't mean aggressive. Sometimes they're focusing on being loud, and they don't make the play. Like I've seen players like that.
I think that connection or an attempt to connect to aggression, which connects to anger, which some players can harness their anger, right, in a way that is devastating. But that takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice and exposure.
And it might even be genetic.
And it might even be genetic.
Right?
Yeah,
it's sometimes I think it is.
Probably is for sure. For sure. But that's just it. Like I think we keep going again to this comparison of pro sports and stuff, right? And I think the false cheering or forced cheering is just a way of trying to
replicate the crowd. Yeah, because not all pro players are loud. Right?
Not all pro players are loud.
Yeah, a lot of them. I would say that most of them, they get loud like we talked about in those genuine moments of, key point, key play.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they talk. I mean, like, volleyball is a very chatty sport, right? Like, it is good when the team's chatty and talkative like that, but it's not like, let's go for the sake of let's go. It happens. Like it's like tennis, right? Like we also go back to tennis, but like like the come on in tennis, right? Like come on is when a player's like fired up, and if they start faking it, you're like, I don't know if that was a come on worthy.
Yeah,
I think Leighton Hewitt was the guy who started all that stuff, but the come on was a big thing that
really?
I first remember him doing it a lot. Maybe not.
It's weird when you first get into watching tennis, and now I'm starting. The more I watch it, the more I understand because they're literally so alone on the court.
Yeah, I was just talking with someone about this today. Actually, how tennis is so cool that way.
Yeah,
because it's not even like beach twos. It's more about you.
And then and comparing to that, like beach twos is a really weird sport. Like I mean, it's because I play it that I think it's really cool or whatever. I'm sure what other sport is played. Well, there's tennis doubles and.
But the key differences with beach, it's like that is the core sport. It's twos. There's no one-on-one. Right. Because in tennis, the pure one is singles, and the doubles is like an afterthought in the players' minds too.
Yeah.
But core beach volleyball is just two players.
And there's not a lot of communication in tennis doubles because it's already formulaic and kind of known.
Yeah. There's some. If you want, like they're whispering all the time to each other, and they're talking. Right. It is, but it's just not.
But once the ball is in play.
Yes, but they do have their strategies. Like there's like, okay, I'm going to take more angle. So there's a lot of that in beach, but it's not like the block.
In tennis, you meant, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, in tennis, yeah. But it's still the secondary. Like, you know what I mean? Like in beach volleyball, it is two players, and it's like, and they're blocking. So like that, if tennis players could block, murdered at the net. Hold a racket over your privates.
They get hit more with the ball in doubles for sure.
They do, and they always apologize, like if they mean it.
Yeah.
It's like hitting someone in the face after a spike kick. Sorry.
It's like hitting the tape on the serve.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. That's.
Are you? No.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we're making a mistake when we tell players to get out of whatever makes them comfortable. There are loud players, and they can be loud, and there are naturally quiet players, and I think they should be allowed to be quiet.
Yeah.
Because then, if you think about it, if the goal is to make them a confident player, which is what the noise is sort of replicating, there's nothing more confident than a player who's allowed to be themselves and doesn't feel like they're being punished or benched if they're.
Yeah.
That's what I see all the time. Is like coaches trying to. It's so fake. It's like coaching a player from the outside in. Like, I see successful players like this, so I'm going to throw this on you.
Yeah.
They might not even, they're probably only noticing the loud player too, by the way. They might not notice the silent assassin, right? Who's like steady, stoic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's just a matter of like, are you helping the player, be stronger mentally, or are you giving them one more thing to think about and to hate themselves over, right? Because a lot of young players, you're like I said, that forced is nothing worse than a young player who's like forcing a cheer.
It feels so obvious. Like I don't think I never had a coach. Well, yeah, maybe they would say the things that we've already mentioned, like, yeah, we need to bring the energy up or talk more, and like, it never really, you're pointing out there's something wrong, but it's not really a good solution to it or whatever.
Yeah.
And it always just had this, left with this void of like, well, what do we actually do? And the big answer to that would have been, why haven't we prepped for this in practice, really?
Exactly. Right? Yeah. I think that's it right there. I think that you can't fake energy.
Yeah, you
right?
can't.
You can't fake energy. And I think you're right. Like, actually, we talk about this, the crossover. I think you and I talk about this a lot in life about how preparation takes stress out of performance, right? Like if anybody's listening and they're like thinking about it at job or at your school work or whatever, the more prep you do the night before, the weeks leading up, the way much more confident you feel in whatever you're doing, right? Yeah. So then there's a lot fewer worries. So that could lead to, that's what you want, is the confidence of prep, and then the noise and not noise doesn't matter.
And the other way of saying that is it means the same to me. Having your practices more intense than your games.
Yes.
That to me is pretty much the same sentences.
Yep.
Right. I mean, now I'm adding in a criteria for practice to make it even more intense than your games. But if you do,
it should be.
It should be.
It should be. Yeah. And your game should be the easiest part of your week. Like in terms of you're at the point where it's laid back and free, versus how we sort of emphasize it the other way. Like people goof around in practice, they take practice light, and then they show up nervous and tight for game day. When if you are prepped like crazy and like taxed from your practices, like exhausted and finishing hard and intense, then the game becomes like a fraction. Because I love that line. Remember we said this before, like you don't rise to the level of your competition. That's a myth. We fall to the level of our training.
Yeah. If
coaches and players and parents can remember that, like we fall to the level of our training.
Yeah.
That means that you want to up your training bar big time, because in the game, that's what you're gonna, because it gets tough. So you want to fall down and make that your automatic baseline.
Yeah.
Then you want that level to be. It's funny, when you think of it that way, because that way, okay, let's up this minimum that we're gonna fall to, by training uber hard, and then the noise becomes irrelevant.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you exactly bringing it up the intensity, like this is what I was thinking in practice recently with Pete against. Up in Peterborough.
Yep.
But because it was getting more and more intense, which was great. And like the only ever solution after each rally is like just to reset, and just because we a few times we went on like a 4-point air mistake run, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty, especially because we're just siding out back and forth. So like 4 points is huge all of a sudden.
Yep.
And then it's like just reset, and then trying to get back into that not thinking state, right?
Well, every rep is replicating what you have to do in the game. That's why scrimmage is so good. Scrimmage is the best. That's all we did. We would just go play with other teams on the beach all day, and
then let it get competitive, because it does. Yes. And it's not like, and again, this is respectful. No one was like, we weren't like blah at each other. Or
no,
whatever.
because you're in it together. You're benefiting from the competition. Yeah.
And I was telling you, like, I was only angry at myself at the mistakes I was making.
Yes.
And that's the way. Even though it's not ideal, I know, like, I need to.
Well, if you dwell, no, it's good. It's good to get it, but you just don't
want
to dwell.
I'd rather have it.
The dwelling is the problem. Yeah.
Right.
It's good to be like upset with yourself, understanding that you did something wrong, but don't dwell.
Right.
Like, you can get upset with yourself as long as it's making you more determined.
Well, and we had a great, like, after practice, like, kind of just talk, me and my beach partner, and then that was good because it kind of cleared the air, because I felt like I had done a bunch of, like, dumb stuff, right? And then we got to talk about it, and then I see that he doesn't care. He just wants to see that, like, we're trying hard, and,
he's
like,
probably thinking about his dumb stuff.
Yeah, and then and then we just talked about all the good things that came out of it, and it was so good to have a practice that intense. And now I'm thinking, like, even when I'm at home, when I go to, like, work out, it's like, if I can just treat this like, just do it hard, where it's literally going to make my next game easier, my next practice easier. Like, because it's even in when I'm at a tournament, it's like, oh, we got to go warm up now. And, like, I need to take warm up seriously, because, like, I got to be fully fired up before I start a game.
Sweating before the first serve is what I say.
The tournament we were playing on the weekend, we didn't warm up because
no.
And I'm like,
we sort of scheduled it so the games were the warm up, like the early games.
I kind of exactly. Exactly. That's what I was saying.
Because imagine if we started against the other good team. Crappy.
But if that was like a competitive tournament, like, I would have been out there like 20 minutes, like, getting fired up and stuff, right?
You want to be sweaty before you in a real tournament. You want to be sweaty before the first serve. That's what I always tell players. If you're not sweating or before the first, then you're not in it. You're going to lose a few points. It could make the difference.
And then then you can end up dwelling on it, and then it can roll into something.
Yes. But I love, like, I think for you especially, like, because you are a thinker, and I'm a thinker too. But it's weird, like, I think, maybe with age, I don't know when I started, like, just being better about the next point. I remember I was telling you about the time, and I was, like, getting, like, I was 17 on my university team, and I was, like, just getting ace. I was like, don't serve me. And now somewhere along the line, I've changed into, like, oh, please serve me again, and I mean it. You know what I mean? Cool. Like, it's not fake. That
is what I need to, and I'm getting there, and I know what you mean. It's weird. It literally is. It's just a belief.
And just understanding. I think there's also, like, I think it goes into the reps, like the amount of reps.
I think it goes into the reps, and I think you can connect it to, because and that's why I brought up the exercising, because if you have been working out or practicing, you just say, I've been putting the work in, and this is, I noticed that in Hugh's book of what was her name, Sarah Parsons. Her name, you mentioned her as Wilhite in the book, but
yes,
I think that's what she mentioned. Is she talked about a moment how, when they were down and they said, like, let's just play our game. And then all of a sudden she had a bit of a realization. She's like, yeah, we've been working like crazy hard for 4 years. This is not our level of play. Ours is above this. We can do this. And then they go out and then they end up winning that game, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that line, like, falling to the level of your training, is just like, that's such a good line, because it means that's what you got to set your bar at. Right, that's what you got to train at, and that's where the reps for you, especially, I think, like, and I mean, it's hard to find, right? Like, it's hard to find a beach team. Like, we were lucky when we were playing, because we had like 6 or 7 good beach teams. A lot more guys played beach in our area back then, so we would go out and just play Saturday, Sunday if we weren't in a tournament, or weeknights, and that way, come tournament time, you're just a little more. You're just like, okay, more serves, more meaningless.
I think I saw the tail end of that, right? Like, I maybe played a little bit with you guys.
Yes. When you're it's just that benefit. That's what it is. That's why you go to the big centers where all the guys are, and that's who works out. And so, like, that's where the real confidence comes from. I don't think it comes from the noise. I think the noise is a byproduct of confidence, and if that's the tendency of the player, and too many people see that, because it gets noticed, right? By definition, the noisy team gets noticed, but people don't know that it's the prep that they're doing, it's the hard work, it's the noise is like it's like taking a symptom of success and, like, thinking it's the cause, it's the reason.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're trying to reverse engineer.
That's the phrase I was looking for. Yeah.
Now I see. It's
funny.
Like
from the outside in, right? Like, that's just a byproduct of that team.
Yeah.
I remember too, like, when I coached you, I don't know if you remember this, but we played a really loud team in a bigger city, and they were just blowing us off the court, but they were super loud, and our teams were super quiet because we were like smaller area, good athletes. And like I said, this club
quieter kids.
This club tends to produce really good athletes over time, right? In the long run, the quieter club does better than the noisier club. It had historically, because they probably because the smaller club was getting their butts kicked at earlier ages, and the value of losing early makes you work harder and keeps you humble, right, versus arrogant. But I remember in that match, one of our outside hitters, Stu, who's a good outside hitter, he cranked a ball and he hit a guy in the head, like, and do you remember? I know you're gonna, I know you're gonna say, and then Stu, he was a nice guy, and he goes under the net and he apologized, pats the guy and said, "Are you okay?" And I remember after the game, I went to Stu and I said, "Stu, 2 things: great hit. Second thing, never go under the net and see if the guy's okay. Just turn around and high five your team," because they were screaming their heads off at us, and you guys were getting nervous as a team. And that, like, I don't know if, like, I mean, see, their noise was genuine. They were big city kids that were like loud kids, and they weren't. But the noise.
What do you mean? Their noise was genuine?
Their noise was genuine because they were like fired up, and and then we were a quiet team, so it did have an impact on us.
Right, but any noise in some regards is not genuine. Like, if you have to amp yourself up, like, what do you mean?
Well, so like they were blowing us off the court.
Oh, okay.
So they were having a lot of success.
Okay.
And that's what made them loud. Like, you know, like when teams start cheering because they're on a roll.
Sorry. So we lost this match.
Yeah. But part of the problem was, I think our team was full of nice guys, and that action of Stu, like cranking, because it could have been a little turning point in the match, right? That he just cranks a guy, hits their loudest player, by the way, in the head with the ball.
That is a huge turning point.
And then instead of going across the net and apologizing and patting him and like sorry, he should have just turned around and high-fived everybody and then see what happens to their noise.
Yeah.
But by going under, he kind of like let them know that okay, these guys are,
we're still gonna like almost concede to you.
Yes, like, we're just happy to be here, sorry about hitting the ball too hard at you. So it was a funny moment, though. It's funny how that stuck in my head for so long, and I'm sure it did with Stu too.
I think I remember that.
Yeah,
I don't remember if you were there, but
that was me. I was the head coach.
I know. I remember Stu doing something like that.
Yeah. Maybe I wasn't there. Maybe I just somehow knew.
Yeah, you're watching the live stream.
Yeah, in 1980. Pre-internet live stream.
Yeah, that would have been pre-internet.
Yeah.
Well, no, the internet was out, but it was
not for us.
Dial up.
Yeah, not. And was it? Oh,
yeah, I think so.
Because it was 100%. Yeah, because I was back from
like
Columbia.
99.
Yeah, I had the internet in Columbia. I remember that. But it's so sad to talk like that. You're like, yeah, I do remember pre-internet. People are like, what? Yeah. There's pre-internet. What? They think Jesus had when they hear about tablets in the Bible, they think it's like an iPad. 10 Commandments on 2 iPads. So, anyway, so I think that there's it's something that's bothered me a lot in volleyball, seeing people force.
So I'm just thinking, like, everyone's gonna have a weird technological thing they'll be able to say in their lifetime. Yeah, I'm like, I was before smartphone. Because there's more and more technology.
Were you flip phone?
Every 10 years.
You're a flip phone guy?
Well, those were the first ones. Well, no, the first ones that came out were like the.
Did you have one?
No, I never had one.
Okay.
No, I didn't get one.
What was your first phone?
I didn't get one until I went to university.
Yeah,
and
of course.
It was like a Nokia,
not
flip.
Just yes. I might have to TELUS. No, it must have been. I forget the brand.
TELUS. It wouldn't have been TELUS.
Yeah, TELUS.
Motorola would have been Motorola.
Might have been a Samsung. Would have been a Samsung, like a non-folded.
And then I got a BlackBerry, and then it was cool.
Yeah, BlackBerry.
Sorry, tangent.
BlackBerry. Yeah, so if you're forcing loud, stop it. I do think it's a major problem. I think what people are really trying to get their players to do by being loud is they're trying to get them to be aggressive, pursue the ball, be confident. But the only way you can teach that stuff is to prep it, right? There's nothing worse than, I think, maybe you were talking about this too, like having a coach that's trying to get you to be loud when they haven't helped you do the prep work.
Yeah. Like I think it's good to have like your bench loud and then the crowd loud, but like everyone on the court, again, within their own characteristics and personalities, right? If you have an energetic, loud player, like try to understand why they are that way. Like if it is just fake, then obviously
I think it's easy to see if it's fake too.
I would think so, right?
Other opposing teams know if it's fake too.
Yeah.
Like my kids did on the beach when they saw some players that were doing it like fake loud, and they would like serve that fake loud kid, and the kid would collapse.
And that, or I mean, even someone who is loud, just have that conversation with them, describing the energy that they're putting out and the vulnerability that they're not putting themselves in for when the game swings the other way. Mm-hmm. Like, why are you loud? Like, is this? I understand, like it gives you momentum and stuff, but realize that when momentum switches and you no longer have this, or you can't be loud because you're now losing. Like, it can work to your disadvantage, right? So,
yeah, it is a powerful thing. That is something. I think, like when the silence happens, like I said about the story about the parents and even the player themselves, that it's a double whammy. Well, like you're now you're like,
these aren't the teams that the teams that do the reverse sweeps are the silent killers.
It's true. Yeah.
Or they make the amazing comeback.
Key points, like you said.
Yeah.
Like they'll get loud at those key moments, but they won't be like loud when they're down by 5, like, cause they're like, there'll be determination is what you want. And like I said, I think some players, honestly, I see young players honestly distracted by the fact that they need to be loud on the court.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what their focus is on. It's not on the play. It's not on the next play.
That's their mental assignment. That means they're not in that state of not thinking.
Yes. Yeah. So sort of like we talked about mental training.
So that therefore the play starts and they can't wait, or they're excited to... these are the people who, when the hitter on their team hits, they're already celebrating before the ball hits the court. And then all of a sudden there's like a last second dig and it pops up and they're cheering. There's nothing. I mean, I've done this before too, and you feel stupid.
Celebrate too early.
You're not in the moment. You're not paying attention.
Focused. Yeah.
Yeah. You just want that easy. You want to get that cheer out, and then because that means you've won the point. But then all of a sudden they get the dig, and then the crappy play happens, and then you lose kick
over the net that lands in the middle of your huddle.
Yeah.
You see the videos on social about that. Teams celebrating, and then like someone does a miraculous play. Free ball comes over and just drops on the curtain. They're looking at the ref like,
and
what
the ref's like,
yeah.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that team.
Yeah, I think that it's so weird because I don't think people understand what it does to a kid's mind when you tell them that what they want to do isn't good enough and they need to fake it. Like, it's so weird. Like, you're just...
Right.
I see these players and they're so timid. They're made more timid than they were because you're now telling them that, you know how you feel on the court?
Yeah.
That's not good enough. We need you to be like this. And to bench a kid for it, to limit playing time because they're not loud enough. I think it's probably a poor choice of words. I think what coaches probably mean by that is they probably mean you're not aggressive enough. And they, like I said, they make they make the superficial gesture of noise their barometer for aggression. Because they don't say that to a player who's hustling and running and diving but doesn't talk much. They say it to a player who's quiet and not moving around the court.
Why didn't you bring this up earlier on in the show when people were listening?
Because I like to save the good stuff for the end.
This makes a lot of sense.
I think I did earlier when I said maybe they mistake it. Remember, for aggression, what they mean as aggression. You know what I mean? Thanks for listening. Even you don't listen to the show.
Well,
I'm boring. Your mind wanders. You're like, I wonder what we need for lunch. My foot hurts. He's rambling on about something. I'm like, peanuts.
But that, because teaching aggression is a difficult thing in volleyball.
It is.
Right, and especially at the younger ages.
And teaching aggression is almost like teaching people not to think. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, a player who's aggressive doesn't think. They react.
But and what part of being loud does that have to do with ball handling and getting the ball to land on the opponent's court?
I know.
You can't yell at a ball to do that.
I know.
It is not a skill at all.
No, it's not. It's a byproduct of hustle and, I don't want to say grit. I hate the word grit. Only since that TED Talk. But
it is I think we can agree, it is a natural byproduct of a team sport, right? It just kind of keeps the energy in your team going. Again, and it's just like anger. Like, anger can be used well, but it can also be mishandled, and it can turn into like just rage or whatever, or like where they have
more
like a
mistakes,
blowout on the court.
Yeah, it leads to more mistakes, and if it's mishandled versus focused.
Right. And
I would submit to you the louder player might be more susceptible to
right. And the person who's angry, you probably don't even know they're angry because they're probably cool and quiet.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
They're probably just like laser focused.
Yeah, like me yesterday, I got angry. And help me.
Yeah.
Help me because I'm old.
Rip those spinners.
Yeah. I played first tournament with the Achilles, and it went really well because I told myself not to let myself off the hook, but I keep telling myself.
We'll have to get the game footage of that.
Please don't.
We
please
can put
don't.
it up. No. If you want to see it, just post in the comments.
Yeah, please don't. It's a rec volleyball tournament with 4 players, and I almost died on the court several times.
We didn't even have antennas.
I was crying. But people thought it was sweat.
But those good glass.
Yeah. People thought it was sweat. I was bleeding from the Achilles. For people who don't know, I had a horrible Achilles injury, Achilles tear in October, and it's now what? July.
Yeah.
And so like 7 months, 8 months.
Sorry, when was it?
October.
So
it's a pretty fast comeback.
My.
But I did some good training.
Yeah.
And came back. Yeah. And I went straight to like tournament pretty much.
Yeah.
And my cardio held up and no pain. And
I was pretty blown away.
Yeah, I was happy, but for an old guy.
Like, you came back better than when you injured it.
What you trying to say?
Well, I'm just trying to say. Like, this is
so you're recommending people
I'm just saying those drugs you use, man.
Those drugs, steroids.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
I had the best, I was going to say something bad. But no, so I think that, people mistake prepper. I think the best thing you can do, like we should probably do an episode on like how do you teach players to be more aggressive.
That'd be
good rather than giving it away now, because there's some interesting things you can do. And I think everybody can relate to that, especially when you're watching a young player. It's a little like you just want the kids to go after the ball a little more. And then the loudness takes care of itself if they are loud people, and don't force it. Like you said, reverse engineer. It's the wrong. It's like telling someone to like, what's something else that what can
example of reverse engineering something? It's I don't know. It's like
you know.
Well, it's like Theranos.
Oh yes,
it's like oh, we have an amazing company. It is unreal. Like, give me all your money. It's gonna do all this amazing health stuff, and then all of this fake money is dumped into it.
Yes,
and then when the actual product is meant to be there and fulfill what it's supposed to do, there's nothing there.
Superficial. Yeah. So Google Theranos, if you don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It was a tech company that like lied about the technology, and they got busted for it, and it was all smoke and mirrors. I guess it's like really anything on Instagram, like the people that replicate.
Yeah.
People who say they're successful. I love that one because I'm in business, and I like see people that post things that are like, we're so successful, and I'm like, no, you're not. It's just
right.
Here's my cool car, and it's like really 5 minutes later, someone's like, get off my damn car.
Yeah. And it's like, sign up for my coaching thing and I'll make you as rich as I am or something. And
right.
So now we're seeing this loudness thing is also connected to comparison to others.
Well, that's one thing I was going to say too, is I was like, what do we know? I mean, the other old saying is like the loudest talkers have the least bite. You know what I mean? Like the people who talk the most usually are the frauds.
And that's an old saying. We know
that's
these
an
old
saying. But more bark than bite, right?
Yeah.
Remember they said about the dog reference, right? And that's what we're sort of teaching our players is to be these superficial, loud for the sake of loud, just like the people on social media who talk the most about how great they are.
Yeah.
Like us. The people who talk the most usually have the least substance, and I think that's a universal law that we see everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Even the quiet dog versus the loud dog, right? The yappy little dog.
This is a double whammy on.
That's the second time we've used the phrase double whammy.
Is it?
Yeah, I used it earlier.
No way.
I probably subconsciously.
Did you really?
I did say it's a double whammy, and then you subconsciously.
So
I think that would make it now. Next time it'll be a triple whammy.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I don't know why. It doesn't even make sense.
Well, it's funny how if this is being proposed to athletes as a way to get them to be more aggressive, but I think the reason many players aren't aggressive is because they are too locked in their head. They're too worried about, and not all kids, but some kids.
No, I think you're right.
They're too worried about how they look,
perception,
like going after a ball, like
failing.
Especially like younger girls, not just girls, but boys too. Like
girls are raised to be super self-conscious though, but boys are too now, but not as much as girls. I agree.
Yeah, like the kids I'm coaching now, I can see already some of them that have been playing volleyball. They are, but like some kids, they just like. And I like just go after the ball. So, and I'm I'm thinking of fun ways to get that and to get them to stop thinking, right?
Yes.
So like the touch 10 type thing where it's not too crazy and just we're all kind of like laughing and having fun. Because then if you're having fun, that means everyone is welcome and
losing inhibitions.
Yeah, losing inhibitions, no judgment. And then you can like do this fun
little bit of alcohol. What?
Jeez.
That's I don't know what happened there. We'll edit that out.
Yeah. and then they'll still go after the ball and then they don't even realize it, right? That was terrible.
That was awful.
Well, the other parents are the ones bringing the alcohol. So
yeah, the parents just sitting down with little coffee mugs filled with booze.
They're like, oh, this coach sucks.
No, it's good that you're right, because taking out the thinking and then and this by definition is making them think and focus on the wrong thing.
You're going the complete opposite direction. You're making them more insecure. Yeah, so it's like,
it's like we talked about the mental training episode where we said like, okay, stop worrying.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I gotta stop worrying. Yeah. Stop worrying. You get ace 3 times, because the mental training is like telling a tightrope walker not to look down. I think it's like, don't look down.
Yeah.
Like they look down,
dude. And this is the part of the game that was unending for as long as you play the game and as long as you are alive. And anything you do that's difficult, this is applicable, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's. And it connected to other episodes that we had way back, but like just doing more difficult things in your life. And then we were talking to parents in this example, right? Like, because that'll help them be less
wrapped up in their kid's success, or like linked to their kids, like their kid not living through their kid now because they value themselves. It's a fascinating topic. I mean, I think what we're seeing, like we talked about this with Hugh, it'll come up in all our episodes. I think we're the worse off the parent is about taking care of themselves and building up their own self-esteem, then the more they'll have to live through their kid. It even makes marriages bad, right? Like if a spouse is not taking care of themselves, then they put it on the other spouse, right? And it's an interesting thing where if you have your self-esteem is just higher, and then you're not likely to do these fake things. So if the player's prepped as well, their self-esteem goes up. They don't feel the need to be loud. You could probably argue that the coaches that want their teams to be loud have probably not done enough to raise their own self-esteem or faith in their players, right? Because if they were prepping their team...
It has to be related.
It has to be, right? Come on, guys, be loud, because I don't feel like we can win based on skill and preparation. So let's just see if we can scare them off. Let's say boo every time they serve. There's got to be a connection there, right, between coaches who prep. I mean, coaches who really prep their teams, and like then versus the coach that just gets their team to be loud because they are insecure.
I hope this isn't connected to like the cheers and stuff. Like.
Before.
Well, like some of the girls' teams will do like cheers on certain when they get an ace and like.
I don't think so. I think there's a little bit more of a social. Like this is kind of fun.
That's what I was hoping you would say.
Yeah. No, because that's okay. That's a little different. I'm talking about that team that needs to go on the court and make a lot of noise, try to intimidate the other team. They are literally. I mean, we know they're compensating for something right inside them. Versus, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that team that gets loud because of success or key points, and then other coaches try to replicate that loudness without looking at the the substance, the real stuff underneath that noise. I think that's a good way to probably wrap it up. Like in terms of like substance, but you're, like you said, reverse engineer. You're looking at the byproduct of that prep and hard work, and you think it's that little byproduct that's causing.
Turn the equation around, and you'll get the ability or whatever, or the not the ability, but the preparation. You're
overlooking all of it. It's like we do this with everything. We look at the surface result and we try to copy it from that end of it. Like it's like the guy sitting on the nice sports car on Instagram when he's broke.
Aspartame.
What?
Does that work? Fake sugar?
Oh, what do you mean in terms of?
Is that like fake sugar, like
fake sugar?
Yeah, like it's all good. You're getting
gotcha.
Sweetness,
but
it's
is that an expression?
Well, no, I'm just.
I think you just invented an expression.
Oh,
it's just aspartame.
It's just aspartame.
It looks like sugar, tastes like sugar, but it's not real sugar. It's just aspartame, superficial. I don't know why I'm talking in that voice. Anyway, no, yes, it is. It's coaching from, thinking that the end result is what leads to the, it's like people who train to look great versus people who train their bodies to function great, right? It's doing it from the wrong.
Yeah. So this
Phil Kessel, I was talking about, the hockey player. Everybody craps on Phil Kessel's body because they didn't think. I'm like, how can he be the fastest skater in the NHL if he's not working out his body to? You know what I mean? The myth was that he never trained and he had a beer belly. He's an NHL player and the American hockey player But he was fast and he scored a ton of goals. Like, there's no way that guy's not training.
Yeah,
like, he's in the NHL. All these like fans were like pooping on him, saying, "Oh, he has a beer gut" and all this. I'm like, no, he's probably training to be functional,
like Nikola Jokic.
Exactly. Yeah, I hate this when people say that. I'm like, these guys are elite athletes. They're training their bodies to be functional. They're not training for 6-pack abs to look great on the beach. And I'm sure they could if they wanted to, but they would lose the functionality. So that's what I mean by like you're trying to look the part, not do the hard work that really requires that.
Well, yeah. Sorry. I won't go off on another tangent.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
Well, like Jokic doesn't need to, he can dunk and he can do all this. He doesn't have to have a massive vertical.
Yeah.
Right. And he doesn't need to put that because he knows his body so well. And that's the thing. As a guy that big and all of a sudden he starts to do more training, more explosive and put more weight on, the way he handles the ball is going to change. And as long as he changes it with that, that's fine. But that's a lot of changes in, and like an NBA career or an NBA season is intense. So if it's working,
he's training.
And of course he's training.
And the whole word,
but he doesn't need to they call him that just because he doesn't look ripped.
Yeah, it's a stereotype. It's like
you see the way he leans in on you can't stop him because
no. And I just hate that myth. But again, it's because people think about the superficial stuff too much rather than the substance and how a guy or player looks. So we talked about this in our sexist episode, like is volleyball sexist. There's a lot of focus on how people look on the court, right? And girls especially, like how they look. Oh, that girl looks like a volleyball player. Not girl. Well, what do you mean by that? And then same with that player. Oh, they're loud. That's the way volleyball players need to be loud. No, you saw a successful team that was loud, and you attributed their success to the volume. Yeah, you think how stupid this sounds, really, when you say it, right? Oh, guys, I saw this team. They were super loud. And they won every tournament. So from now on, guys, every practice, we're going to work on being loud. Are we going to work on serving? No. It's the loudness. I'm telling you, they win every game.
We're going to get super sticky sneakers that squeak when you move. Yeah. And I don't know,
yeah, we're going to slap the floor and scream when they it's just the wrong... the prep is what makes your team loud.
You're just jingle bells on your... No, it's...
jingle bells. Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. We hit just about an hour now, so I think we're pretty good. Speaking of not being too loud. So we will wrap this up. Should we end this with a few seconds of silence, maybe? Will that be creepy?
Or
can we do it?
Or an ohm.
I
don't think you would do it.
We should do wow. We should do one of those calm app. I think maybe our show is already.
Maybe we should finish it with a little bit of meditation, actually.
Or maybe we should sell all of our episodes to calm because most people fall asleep while they listen to it because
that's smart.
Boring AF.
That's forward engineering.
Okay, so I think we can't do it. We can't end on 3 seconds of dead air.
What's the big idea?